Well, isn't that interesting? Especially since an independent journalist.
There's a crazy story about this research company who sent a guy literally to the Strait of Hormuz, and he found out that the situation wasn't at all the way that we are reading in the media. And it made me think about how, in a drive for efficiency, we have a collapsing diversity of thought. The backstory is, of course, here that we're all reading about the Strait of Hormuz being closed, how it's a crisis, and how no one, not even Beijing, is getting through the Strait of Hormuz. But this research outfit that runs a Substack hired analyst number 3 who's fluent in 4 languages and sent him with a box of Cuban cigars, 15 grand in cash, and a roll of Zyn, literally this briefcase, to Oman, which is right here. He crossed into Oman and promised not to engage in journalism of any kind, but in his briefcase, he had a microphone kit and recording sunglasses. He hires a stranger to take him on a boat out into the Strait of Hormuz. And he finds that there's actually a lot of activity going on there. He calls it managed chaos. There weren't any mines, and there was lots of traffic, especially Chinese vessels, and that they were using alternate routes that nobody was talking about. It turns out that the reason that we get all these same type of reports out of mainstream media outlets is that in their drive for efficiency, they all use this automatic identification, or AIS data, which is basically shipping data that is published to this website, and it tells you where ships are. But the thing is that Iran and China, they often use these shadow fleet vessels that are these unmarked vessels that even paint the tops of their hulls so that satellites can't identify them. And they specifically spoof their location to manipulate the AIS data. So all these guys are looking at the same wrong data. And I understand that when politicians are talking about reopening the Strait of Hormuz, they're talking about free travel of vessels, not the shadow fleet. But analyst number 3 and his Hormuz field trip showed us that by actually going there and seeing for themselves, there's a lot more to the story. And it made me think about a conversation I had with a very smart, way smarter than me, billionaire investor not too long ago, where he said, be careful about relying on AI systems to help you with creativity, because they can be sort of single points of data, just like this AIS data, that leads everyone to the same outcomes. Because if you see here, humans are the light colored dots. They kind of think about a topic all over the place. But AI systems, they're these filled in dots. They tend to always cluster around the same thoughts because they're computers. So what we're seeing is that there is a collapsing diversity of thought, because in a drive for efficiency, so many people are using AI systems to guide their thinking, when sometimes the inefficient thing of taking a field trip out into the place, which is not that efficient, can actually tell you what's going on. Do you see examples of companies and individuals starting to think the same because they're using single sources of data that are often wrong or don't tell the whole story? Genuine question. Do we have a collapsing diversity of thought and analysis?
Yes, we do. And I find it interesting that I watched this video, and when I was watching it, all of a sudden this came up. Again, I find it very interesting. I love y'all. Have a good day. Bye. Don't trust everything you see.